Are you looking to start doing some embroideries? You want to do a project, but you don't really have a lot of supplies for embroideries and fabric? I gathered a kit for you with not too much supplies, but enough to make a couple of projects. And I'm going to show you how to use it. I'm going to do a project with you in this video step by step, so you just have to follow along and you have everything you need in the kit to create the project. Let me show you. Hello everyone, this is Anne from Odulcina. I've created a little bundle of fabric in smaller pieces than a fat quarter or half a fat quarter, and it includes some silk ribbon for embroidery. And in this video I'm gonna do this project on camera, so it's a junk journal cover, and I did the whole project using what I have in the kit. The only thing that can be different is the picture, because you have two ladies, two girls, and two teddy bears in the project, so they change a little bit, but I made sure that the colors are matching the fabrics and everything. It's a limited edition because I don't have that much of inventory of these appliques. So if it's getting too popular, I can redo it, but the appliques would be different. But anyway, you have a silk ribbon. I just want to show you what the kit contains, and then I start crafting and creating this cover step by step. So you have some fancy yarns that are matching the skin pink saris chiffon silk, some appliques. This is Crafty Me Shop, a piece of my old curtain that this is a treasure, some roses like that, and you have two ladies, you have two girls, but they might be different than the one you see, and you have two teddies, this lace, and then you have those four fabrics, and you have the pieces are just 25 by 35 centimeters, so it is smaller than a fat quarter or half a fat quarter. So, but you have enough to create a couple of projects with that. And then in the bag you have some embroidery threads that are the good colors, and you have some silk ribbons. You have 9 different silk ribbons, and that are matching the colors. It's a project for those of you who doesn't have a stash or an inventory, and you want to play with embroidery fabric, and you want a good variety and everything that matches without spending too much. Because if you buy half a fat quarter of each of all of those, well, you have already a good amount there. And then if you have to buy the laces by the yards for specific colors, well, at some point it becomes expensive. So you have kind of a little kit that you can play, and you can create a lot of projects with it without having too much of an inventory. So let me show you how I work with that kit. The first thing that I suggest is to wash the fabric into the washing machine, into the dryer, and then iron it. Now I'm going to fussy cut this little girl, and I'm going to use the heat bond to make the fabric a little bit more sturdy and be able to kind of glue it to my other fabrics in order to be able to to do some end stitches all around. But I do believe, if I understand correctly, that when you use the heat bond, it will prevent the fabric from losing its threads, and you don't necessarily need to stitch it. But I wanted the feel and the look of the stitches, so I did slow stitching all around, but I think it's not mandatory. One thing for sure is that with the heat bond, it's really, really easy to fussy cut, as you can see. And if you've never really did any fussy cutting, you're gonna see that my scissors are not moving that much, but I am moving the fabric, giving little twist in it to create little imperfections in my cutting or little waves. That's the tip that I can give you. And now you can just cut little pieces that you forgot or make it more perfect. And you can just apply it with the iron on a fabric. The heat bond that is now behind the little girl, once I will iron it on the fabric, it will stick the girl to the fabric. So before I do that, I want to make sure that I know a little bit about my layout, enough that I'm sure where to kind of glue it, because maybe the little girl will overlap with some laces, as you can see. So that's why I gave you the little piece of curtain that I have, because I decided to use it in my project. It's just perfect. We can see that the little girl is just not sitting like that on the stripe fabric. It's kind of adding like a floor or a carpet whatsoever, right? So when I ironed the little girl, it glued a little bit the curtain and the other lace. Now with the Fabri-Tac, I'm gonna complete the gluing of those two pieces so they don't move, because I'm not really stitching them right now, and I won't anyway. So I just wanted to make it a little bit bigger, because I'm gonna use this embroidery circle. I don't know the name of that in English. So I've added the flower fabric, and in order to not waste my fabric, which is quite expensive, I'm taking away the portion that we don't see from the front of the project. So it's a waste if I leave it there. This is my type. If I can, if I can take away an inch or more of a lace or the fabric, I do, because with an inch we have enough to do something, right? So here we go. I'm just doing some slow stitching all around the little girl, and no special technique there other than doing the handmade stitches. So, but as I tell you, it's not necessarily mandatory, specifically for a junk journal cover that won't go into any washing machine or drying machine. This looks good already. I stitched all around the striped fabric, and now I'm gonna use this erasable pen. It's erasable with heat. So you can use a heat gun to erase any lines that you would have write down by mistake. Let's say I don't like what I just designed, and I'm using my heat gun to just erase everything and redo it. So really, I love those pens because there's no risk there. I can fully design where I want my embroideries and have an idea where I'm going with my embroideries. And if I don't like what I draw, I just erase it. Erase a part or erase completely, but let's say that erasing a part, it's a little bit hard to control because the heat gun is not that precise. But let's say you could try to just erase the bottom or the top and redo it. So I just designed like a little flowers and leaf line that is curly, and I'm gonna kind of follow that. But it's not because I draw it that I need to necessarily do it exactly as I planned. I can change my mind. I can decide to be a little bit on the side or not, add more or not do one. If while I'm building up my embroideries, it doesn't look like I want, because at the end, I'm gonna erase all those lines again and they're gonna disappear. So that's really, really neat. I've put those pen in my Amazon storefront. So at the in the description of this video, you have the link to my Amazon storefront in Canada and on amazon.com for everybody else. And you can figure out through my Amazon storefront what are those pen, these erasable pen, and then you kind of compare the prices with the others there on Amazon. You don't need to buy the one that I gave you as an example. All right, so buy the same brand, because the others might not be erasable with the heat gun like that. Some are erasable with the iron, but I'm not sure if it works with the heat gun. What I don't like with the iron is that it flattens all the stitches, the embroidery, so they look flat. And this, you don't want that. For sure, you don't want to wash. So some are erasable by washing the fabric. You don't want that. Just make sure that you buy the good one, because otherwise you might have a bad surprise. So now I am not teaching you how to do those gorgeous roses, silk ribbon roses, because if you go on my channel, there's a playlist. Like every channel has playlists for those who uses them, and I use them. If you didn't know, you can go in my playlists and you're gonna have like an embroidery tutorials playlist where I show you one by one all the embroidery stitches. I think there you have 4 or 5 ways to do roses. You have the French knot, 2, 3 ways to do leaves and other stitches. And I'm gonna add more with time. It's just a matter of building up over time with more. So if you want to learn how to do those silk ribbon leaves like that, the French knot, which is the big dot, and those silk ribbon roses, you go in the playlist. And in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link of those specific tutorials so you can go directly to them. But just remember that you can just find the playlist and you will easily find the tutorial to make them, where I explain very, very in details how to do them. So right now you're just gonna see me building up this project, adding the embroideries with roses and leaves, and the little dots are kind of roses in the building, the built up. I'm using one of the silk ribbon that the color changes. You can see it changes from green to kind of beige, vanilla, and going to pink. So this is why I started with like a rose, and I'm slowly moving down depending on which color I am. So right now I'm still with the green, so I'm doing the leaves. And then when I see that I'm getting out of the green, I'm going to move up again and do more roses. So right now it's going to be kind of the white, and I'm going to do another rose there. This is the way I work with those silk ribbon that has the color that varies. And but you can use it different ways. I just use those. Learning embroidery can maybe look and feel like it's a little bit overwhelming for you, and I totally understand. I felt like that and I procrastinated it and I pushed it. But finally, when I just took the time to practice while watching a video, I figured out that it was pretty easy. And in every creations that I'm using embroideries, I'm always using the same stitches, those 4 or 5 stitches, that rose, silk ribbon rose, the silk ribbon leaves, the French knot, and just doing like a curvy line for the stem, let's say, which is really like a little bit like slow stitching, but you need to align your stitches. So I encourage you to just take the time. Maybe this would be the perfect project. You can take your own supplies if you have already, and or you can buy this kit and just follow along, and you go look at my specific tutorial. You do 4 or 5 silk ribbon roses, then you add 4 or 5 leaves, and then you go like that. And at the end of the project, you're gonna really know how to do those stitches. You're gonna have enough practice and you're gonna have a gorgeous project. So I tend to stitch my the last end of the silk ribbon just to make sure it never pulls out and never moves. I just use a sewing thread and I do 2 knots wherever I want to attach it. So now I want a little bit of a punch of color, and I'm using this burgundy silk ribbon, and I'm doing little buds, kind of. I don't have enough space to create silk ribbon roses with that color, so I'll just do little French knots here and there so they look like little buds that are about to become a flower, and it's going to be just enough to give that little punch and bring that color from the fabric into the whole project. So sometimes you don't need that much, just a little bit, and that's it. That's sufficient. So that's why I gave you a little bit of that silk ribbon into the kit. The silk ribbon embroideries, I think they're the most gorgeous of all the embroideries. There is something about that with the ribbon that everyone loves and that impress the more people that never tried it. So when I show my work with my friends or family members or visitors to my place, it is what impressed them the most. It's the embroideries. Everybody loves that. And I can see, like in the context here, we do junk journals, but once you know how to do the embroideries, we can do like cushions for the living room or the bedroom. We can add embroideries to a tablecloth, to a hat. Yeah, a purse or a fabric bag, you know? So it's a knowledge that you can very, very much enjoy using other places than with your junk journals. So I use it the most in with my junk journals, but it is a knowledge that I can bring with me other places than in my junk journals, let's say. I also find it's kind of the perfect project to bring with me when I want to do something with my hands that I love and that I enjoy, and that I'm not in my craft room. So let's say I want to go sit outside in my rocking chair. Um, I can bring that with me. It doesn't take too much place. The wind doesn't really impact it. I mean, not that much of wind, but compared to paper, let's say I cannot do any junk journals outside with all of my papers, but I can do embroidery projects. I don't even need a table. I can just work on my laps, and that's sufficient. So this summer, we went to the beach with the kids, and they're grown up kids, so they don't need me in the water with them, and I don't really enjoy being in the water unless the water is very hot, like in a hot tub, which is never the case in a lake. So I just waited at the picnic table under the trees, and I did the embroideries the whole day, and I truly enjoyed it. So I was with my family. I participated somewhat because when they were back at the table, I was there and I had good conversations, and we shared them like snacks and a lunch, and they went back to the water and they came back to the table. And at the end of the day, I had a nice project, not fully done, but almost. I discovered that I can do embroideries in the car if my seat is at the front of the car, because otherwise I have motion sickness. But if I'm at the front with my husband, which is my place anyway, I'm good to go. So when we have long trips to do, or if my husband wants me to be with him in the car because he needs to go somewhere, do a little purchase, and he feels like he doesn't want to go alone, I can accompany him and I bring along my embroidery project. So this way, to me, it feels like I don't waste all of my time, my precious time. So as you can see, I fell in love with embroideries, specifically silk ribbon embroideries. And this was a surprise to me because that whole journey of junk journals started with I wanted to get back to scrapbooking because I was missing having friends with me, doing the scrapbookings together around a table and chatting the whole night, or going to retreats, scrapbooking retreats. I was missing that so much that I decided I wanted to get back into scrapbooking to share moments with friends. Not necessarily for the end result, pages or building albums like I was doing when my kids were young, but to be creative, do something that I love, create beautiful pages while chatting and doing some social with friends and people. So it started with that. Then I discovered the interactive albums, which are kind of a scrapbooking, but with that you do fully instead of buying an album and adding the pages. You build the album and you build the pages, and there's no plastic cover on pages, so you can have some interaction like pockets and flips and flaps and cascade flaps. And I was just in love with this idea. It's so interactive. And then it brought me junk journals. When I say it I mean YouTube gave me some videos of junk journals, and then I fell in love. I literally forgot everything about scrapbooking and interactive albums. Even if I still love and want to create interactive albums, I did two when I started, and then I discovered junk journals, and I never went back to these interactive albums. But one day, yeah, one day I need to do a baby book for my youngest, which I never did for him. And he tells me from time to time. Anyway, I discovered the junk journals. And with junk journals, I discovered, oh, laces and adding fabrics and adding embroideries because I couldn't find cute embroideries already done in the thrift stores and that kind of stuff. And I thought, maybe I should learn it. It doesn't seems to be too complicated, and then I can really embellish my projects to another level with that. And that's how embroideries came into my lifestyle. And I realized over the time, as much as I love papers and the noise of the papers and doing junk journals, I enjoy as much doing embroideries and playing with laces. So they're all together now. It's one hobby that I mix everything together. And that's why in most of my creations there's always laces and or embroideries. So my project is kind of completed. I'm erasing the lines, whatever's left from the initial lines, and that's it. I won't iron it. I just don't want all of that to be flattened. And now I can use it. I can add some appliques and more laces. You can see the potential here. At the end of this project, I'm not using this applique, not because it's not gorgeous, but I kind of, you don't you don't use all of the supplies in the same one single project, right? So I ended up using those roses that you can cut. Each rose can be used individually, or you can use lines. So I'm gonna use lines. I love those roses. They're in my stash for 2, 3 years now, and I just forget to use them. But they were the perfect pink to go with that project because it's more of a coral pink, I would say. So it's not the baby pink that I used. That fabric has the baby pink but has some peach coral pink and some beige and burgundy. So you can really go with projects in all those four colors and it goes very well all together. So for this kit, it's baby pink and kind of coral pink, using the silk ribbon, which has burgundy polka dots there, um, to create a bow, of course, with a cheesecloth that will kind of sit the bow on the project. So I'm just playing around, but honestly, there's so many different layouts that you can do with that. And believe me, at this point, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this piece of art. I love to create clusters. Like, this is kind of a big cluster, but it's a cluster still. Because I know that I can use a cluster in almost every single project, and I just need to add things around or under, and it completes the whole thing. So when I looked at it, I figured out that it was, by pure luck, the perfect size for a junk journal cover. So I grabbed one of my coffee stained envelope and I added more fabric just to complete the whole thing. I just glued the fabric to the envelope and my project was done. We have a junk journal cover with that. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.